Okay, everybody, I suppose first of all, good evening to everybody, and thanks for joining the call this evening. There'll probably be another few who'll join us as we go, but look, we'll get started. As I said, the session is being recorded and I will make it available obviously to all clubs via email later on this evening or tomorrow once it gets transferred across into YouTube and we're able to send it out. So look, I suppose primarily the main aim of this evening is to update clubs on where we are in terms of the Cúl Camp preparations since we spoke maybe just shy of a month ago, and also I suppose just to have a look and answer some questions maybe that clubs might have. Now, what I would say at the start is if we could keep the questions that would be generic across the board, if there's something specific to your own club that you'd like to ask, by all means, look, give me a ring and we'll go through it one-on-one ourselves. If it's something that's specific to just your club and maybe isn't relevant to everybody else on the call, that we might just try and keep as best possible that questions and that would be relevant to everybody while they're listening. So the way that this system works, in case anybody hasn't been on it before, if you put your cursor into the center of your screen, you'll see a bar come across, which obviously shows the camera, your microphone. It'll also show a hand in. So if somebody, once we get to the questions and answers, if somebody does have a question, what I'd be asking you to do basically is click on that hand and that'll raise a hand beside your name, which means I can see then that you have a question and I'll be able to invite you to open your mic and ask your question then from there. So instead of people trying to talk over one another or two or three people asking the question at the same time, that if we can press the hand, it means that I can monitor then people who have questions and invite them in with their question one at a time to make sure that everybody can hear it clearly. So I'm just going to, I suppose, start really with the document that went out to clubs last week, just in case there's anybody on the call that didn't see it, and that was our proposed schedule list with regards to the camps for this year. Now, what has happened in the meantime is that we obviously have one club who came back and working with Liscannor at the moment to find an alternative date because of a clash with regards to other activities in their area that week. And we've had two clubs who initially would have said that they weren't going to go ahead with the camp that have come back to us since Friday's announcement to ask to be included again. So the two of them will need to be fitted into the programme as well. What's going to happen basically from here is that by Friday evening, I need to have sent off our confirmed venues to everybody with regards to the camp programs to make sure that they can all that they can get the website right and up. So that the first process will be that to make sure that the website, I suppose, is showing the correct dates, that the camps aren't running or taken off it, and that all the camps that have changed dates, that the correct date is now being reflected in them. What will happen from there then with regards to booking is that I have an agreement with the website that although the website is technically ready to be opened, they're saying from June 22nd, but it may be a day or two later, but the agreement that in order to try and serve the local clubs as best as possible, the agreement that we have is that we will open a given camp on an agreed day with that club. So if we're to take, for example, just the first one that's on the list there is Shannon Gales on week 1. So I will speak with Shannon Gales, agree what date that they want the registration to be opened. They can then send communication around to their own club people and say, look, the camp booking, if you wish to book, booking will be available from this date. Because what we don't have is we don't have a facility that obviously restricts booking to specifically your camp. So the best possible way we have of doing it is to ensure that the people within the club know the day that your camp is going live, and then they'll have the opportunity to book in before people are browsing through all of them. So that, as I said, that would be stage 1 for us with regards to the way that it's going to be handled. So if anybody that hasn't come to me, like Liscannor have come in the past few days with regards to an issue with their date, preferably I really do need to know, I suppose, this evening or tomorrow with regards to if there is an issue and if there is amendments to be made with what we sent out, because as of at the moment we're taking it that of the 25 camps that are listed, the clubs are happy with the slot obviously that they have been given, and Liscannor being the one that we're going to find a new slot for. And then, as I say, the two new camps which have only come in the last 24 hours, 6 Mile Bridge and Steinman, we're working basically over this evening and in the morning to confirm which weeks we feel that they will best be suited to go into, and we'll be in contact with those two clubs then at that time. So so I suppose that really deals with the first part of it. Just as I say, in case anybody hadn't seen it, I'm just putting it up there. So week 1, as we said at the start, starts July the 20th. And you have Shannon Gales, Aina Kilnamona and Ballyvaughan at the moment to be the 3 camps. Week 2, which is Monday the 27th of July, is Kilrush Shamrocks, Liston Varna, Clonlara, O'Callaghan's Mills, Smith O'Brien's and Kilfenora. Week 3 would be Clonagad, Innisdiamond Hurlin, Clooney Quinn and Scariff now. Week 4, Broadford, Newmarket and Fergus, Iroginish, Kilmaley, Fecal, Whitegate. And then week 5 is Ballyea, Cracklaw, The Banner, Clarecastle and St. Joseph's Milltown Malva. Now, we have stayed away from the week 6, which is basically the 24th to the 28th of August, due to, I suppose, the amount of schools that are opening on that given week of the 27th and 28th. However, if there is a club here that wishes to have their camp run on that week and confirms that none of their primary schools are opening on the 27th and 28th and aren't possibly open until the following Monday, well, then there is an opportunity for us between today and tomorrow to obviously put a camp or two in there if that is what suits people. But as I say, just because of the amount of schools that we know that are scheduled at the moment to return on the 27th and 28th, we just felt it was best to avoid that week unless clubs are adamant that they want to go into it and are 100% sure that it's available for them. So so that is I suppose around the scheduling side of things. More so then what we're going to be looking at next is maybe some of the confirmation material that has come out obviously since yesterday, which is obviously I'm hoping some people have seen between news bulletins and everything. Obviously the GA officially launched the Cúl Camps as of yesterday, and confirmed that they were 100% going ahead and starting on July 20th, pending obviously everything still being okay in the country. So I'm just going to bring up this document which was released to us in relation to it, and I will share it as well with clubs obviously in relation to some of the points that we would have gone through in our previous meeting a month ago, but maybe we didn't have some of the questions for. So I suppose the document is a document that was released to us in order to help clubs with regards to what's required. So I suppose the first thing to deal with is responsibility, and as you can see, overall responsibility for running of the camps rests with the County Games Development Committee. And from a health and safety perspective, the only responsibility resting with the committee is to ensure that there is strict adherence to the guidelines outlined in the Safe Return to Gaelic Games document. So how we propose to ensure that is kept, as I would have spoken about a month ago, is by employing this COVID officer in each of the camps specifically for that reason. Now, some clubs have been in touch with me and they've identified somebody who's willing to do the role already. And we will be, I suppose, talking with all the other clubs to see with regards to whether they have a suitable person. I know some people were waiting for all this documentation to come out before they approached people. So I suppose, look, just to address some of the things with regards to where do we see the COVID officer and what's their responsibility. Well, we'd be looking at things like the drop off and collection of children to make sure that we have an agreed criteria around. Every venue is different, so every single camp will be treated differently based on, I suppose, what's available to them in terms of parking spaces, room inside gates and different things. So we have to come up with a specific plan for every single ground, and we will be doing that with I suppose, in cooperation with the COVID officer that we'd be hiring for the camps, but also obviously now that it has been confirmed that every club is going to have an overall COVID officer in place, even nearly a month prior to when the camps are going. We will be obviously looking to tie in and discuss with the club COVID officer as well to make sure that they are happy with what systems we're putting in place around the club. Then the role, I suppose, throughout the day would be around ensuring that the toilets are sanitized. So that's obviously regular cleaning of the toilets after they've been used. If clubs do have a stand, and if the children go in and sit in that stand at any stage, whether it's due to rain or whether it's at lunchtime, then as soon as they leave, that area has to be sanitized as well. That we ensure that at the end of each day that every coach, as they come away with their equipment, that equipment is all sanitized and this person would have the appropriate equipment for that. That we would look at, I suppose, ensuring that there's allocated areas within the stand and agreeing if there is a stand available in clubs where, as I say, if it's a wet day or if it's lunchtimes even, but there's a designated area for each grouping. So there's the groups are kept apart. And what we'll also be looking at doing is we'll be looking at staggering lunch breaks and things like that, so that except where maybe it's a very bad day and the stand is there for cover, that we wouldn't have everybody in the camp, I suppose, in the stand at any one time themselves. We'd be looking, I suppose, obviously at the collection of the sheets from parents, which is something that you're probably all well aware from what has come out, even from a club point of view, that on a Monday morning when the parents come, they will be asked to, I suppose, bring the filled out sheet with them that stipulates that their child has had their temperature checked and that it's not above the 37.5 degrees. And subsequent to the Monday morning, it will then be a case of checking in with the parents to ensure that there is no change in terms of the temperature of the child. There will not be a necessity, is what we're being told at the moment, to have the sheets brought for all 5 days. And from what we can gather, it's going to be something similar even for club training, that where in the initial announcement, the sheets were going to have to be brought every night. It now looks like that they will have to be brought on the first night as an initial one, but then that the parents will have to obviously confirm with the relevant people in the coaching team, or in our case in the camp, just to verify that there has been no change from what has been submitted the day before or 2 days before or that. So that they would make sure that they get that. And then I suppose, as I say, it really around ensuring that if there is anything needed in terms of sanitation or in terms of cleaning or anything like that, that they look after it and that they make sure that it's got in, that if it's a case of soap is running low on toilets, that is replenished before it runs out. The children have to obviously wash their hands on the way in and out, so there'll be a sanitation point set up before the kids arrive, and it making sure, with the help of the other coaches obviously, but making sure that every kid goes through the correct place, sanitizes their hand on the way in and sanitizes their hands again as they leave. So that would be our way, I suppose, of looking at how we're going to deal with what's outlined in terms of guidelines in the Safe Return to Gaelic Games document that's there. Now, we will also be obviously in communication with, we've been already talking with Fergal Gray, who, as well as being the children's officer, is obviously a HSE employee, and he's been dealing with, I suppose, upskilling the people in areas such as this over the past few months since the pandemic arrived. So Fergal is going to, we'll be getting all COVID officers onto a call specifically for them and running through their responsibilities and guiding them and helping them. They will also have to complete the online COVID course that the GAA are laying out, and then finally the county GAA are also in the process of appointing a COVID officer for the county. So we will, and this person's going to come with a medical background as well. So we'll also be liaising with them once they are appointed, in order to ensure that the support or any questions that the people that are dealing with the COVID, I suppose, recommend, or the COVID guidelines in terms of our camps, that they have all questions that they need answered appropriately in that manner. So, so that will be point one on the document. Point 2, obviously, we've already dealt with, which is the commencement period. So camps are beginning on July the 20th, as you saw, and they run up to the 28th of August. So it is, and then the last part is just what I was talking about, the reason why we've left the 26th and 27th free. Croke Park, as of this week, are now saying that the caps will be set by us locally in the county, but I have already had discussions with the county board executive and the county board officers on this, and at the moment we're satisfied that because of basically the number of groups and spacing out and activities that are potentially going on in any venues, that we wouldn't be looking at moving the capacity above what had been outlined at the start, which was 100, maximum of 100 participants per camp. So I suppose the document is now given flexibility to counties, but as I say, following discussions with the county board on this, we feel that the 100 number is an appropriate number in terms of what we can cater for correctly in all of our venues, in terms of making sure that the camps are run properly. So look, if anybody who potentially was looking to have a second one, if they have a second venue where we could run the camps half and half, there is a possibility. But what we are saying is that we will allow a club, if they wish to make a application, if you like, to have more than the 100, that they would do so, I suppose, to us via email or in writing, and then we would obviously discuss with that club individually their case and see if we are happy and satisfied that they can cater for more than 100. But as I say, in the majority of places, we do feel that is the maximum that the facilities on offer to us will be able to cater for. So they are advising, but as far as I know, it's not restricted on the booking document that children would only attend one camp. So that, but there is no way of, from our side on the county, we have no way of monitoring that. Parents book in on the site, which is a national site, and when things are paid for and sent down, we then get that updated on our roll call list. We have no way of really monitoring whether parents are booking into 1 or 2 camps or even 3 camps if they did. So it is a recommendation there, but in reality, they don't really have a way of policing it and ensuring that is adhered to. Facilities must comply with the requirements as per the GA Cúl Camp planning documents, which obviously is dealing with the next point, which is indoor facilities. And as you're aware from the document that came out from Croke Park, that indoor facilities are not available until August 10th, which means that the camps will be running without basically the use of dressing rooms and that. So what we are saying very strongly is that in the case of a club who has a stand, if it's a wet day, we obviously will have the option of breaking the groups up and putting them into a stand if the weather gets very bad. However, in a venue, and there are some venues there that have, I suppose, indicated that they're going to host a camp this year. If it is a very wet day, the camp will continue as normal. And I suppose what we will be saying to all parents is if they wish to come and collect their child early from camp, that they can do so. But we don't call off the camp, and obviously we don't have a stand, and we're not allowed into dressing rooms and that until after August 10th. So that means that the camp will go ahead in the rain, and that if a parent wishes to come and collect their child early due to the weather, they can do so. If they don't, well, then the camp will continue. Signage, they're saying it'll be a mixture, really. They're saying the responsibility of the club. It'll be a responsibility of obviously both the club and the county. And the reason I suppose they put the club in there is because signage is part of the document in the return to play for all clubs. So there's an expectation, I suppose, that there would be signage already up. for when the pitches are allowed to open from June 29th. If there is additional signage or that we feel is necessary from a camp point of view, obviously we will be checking that out in the week or two leading up to the camp to ensure that it is signed appropriately as we feel from a camp point of view. But as I say, all clubs have a responsibility to make sure that the signs are up and in place for June 29th when clubs are allowed back in the smaller groups to train. And so there is an expectation that that a lot of those signs will already be in place before the camps commence on July the 20th. So drop off and collection, as I say, it will be coordinated between the COVID person and in agreement with the local club with regards to how we're running it. And parents will not be allowed to just wander in and obviously take away their child like they might have done previously. There will be a designated area for collection, which will allow obviously for social distancing of the parents. And then what we will be doing is group by group, we'll be bringing the children across to the parents where they will obviously be met then by their parent and they will be able to go from there. Again, there isn't a one size fits all in terms of facilities at each of the venues. So the protocol being used will be slightly different, I suppose, from club to club, depending on as I said at the start, the outset, the car parking space and the facilities inside their own club walls and things like that. So it'll be a specific plan for your own area is what we'll be going through. Coach 10 we've already, I suppose, dealt with in a way. That's the COVID supervisor. Now Crow Park, we're saying that the head coach should be it. We are saying at a county level that's not acceptable, and that's why we are employing a specific COVID-19 supervisor for the camps. That we don't feel it is appropriate to, I suppose, ask a head coach to look after on-field matters where potentially there could be an injury or where a coach might need support or where there could be anything going on in terms of on-field, but also be trying to look after the other elements off-field as well. That it's not, I suppose, in our opinion, at county level, that it wouldn't be appropriate to ask the same person to do both roles, which is why we have, I suppose, designated the new COVID officer role to the camps this year. The questionnaire, again, I spoke about above, so it has to be completed fully by the parents and guardians prior to the commencement of camp, and a copy of that then is given to the local local COVID person, and then on a daily basis thereafter there's a requirement for the guardian and staff to complete a tick the box exercise to ensure that there's no change. Okay, so I suppose the biggest thing there is what we're saying is you can't just drop your child and just leave. We need to have that box ticked, and it can only be ticked following communication with a parent or a guardian who brings the child. So that each parent or guardian, when they bring their child up every morning, that they do make themselves known. They tick the appropriate boxes for their child, and then they're free to leave once that has been done. Regarding, I suppose, people with underlying health conditions, parents or participants who are known to have underlying health conditions should be strongly encouraged to seek medical advice before attending a camp. So we are not saying that anybody can or can't attend, but I suppose what the GA is strongly saying is that if somebody has a concern about any underlying health condition that they have, but still wants to attend the camp, that they should seek medical advice before attending the camp or booking the camp. The responsibility for supply of sanitation products rests, again, this is the Crow Park document. It says rests with the local club, but as the camps are a county programme, it will be, obviously, it's our responsibility as the organisers at county level to ensure that they're there. So that responsibility will rest with us to ensure that the hand wash, soaps, hand sanitisers and that will be provided in terms of for all camps each week. Point 14 deals with, I suppose, equipment, and a month ago we were saying that there may be a need for PPE equipment and that side of things with regards to the coaches. What Crow Park are now saying is that there will be a necessity for masks to be worn in the context of where social distances between the child and the coach cannot be. So in the event of where a child needs help tying their shoelace, or where maybe there's an injury or something like that, well, then the coach will be required to ensure that they have a mask on before approaching the child at that stage. Okay. And again, the last point there really is around the wet days, which obviously is just dealing with the fact that we won't have indoor facilities, and as such, the camps will continue in the rain. And if there is no stand facilities to take the child out of, as I said earlier, the parents will have the option of coming and collecting them early if they wish, and if not, the camp will just continue. The last point, which I suppose isn't really applicable to any of you on the call here today, is just around club camps and that which often run, and that are that clubs who elect to run their own camps, they won't be I suppose there's two sides of it. Number one, if they're not running a Cúl Camp, they're not adhering to policy, which means that permission won't be granted at county level or any other level for that camp to go ahead. That it's written in the national policy that anybody who wishes to host a club camp must, I suppose, ensure that they also run a Cúl Camp, so that there will be no sign off in terms of permission for club camps to be run unless that club is also engaged with running a Cúl Camp. And then in the circumstance where any of the clubs on here are looking at potentially running a club camp as well as the Cúl Camp, I suppose everything that has to be adhered to from a Cúl Camp point of view in policies and procedures will have to be adhered to from a club point of view as well. And there is a large document which is available, and I'll go through shortly with you with regards to what we have to fill in for each of the venues, which will also be expected of each club if they were to be hosting themselves. So look, what I might do is I might just, people probably have a few questions or that maybe on that side of things. So I might just open it that if somebody does have a question, you might just raise your hand there in your middle screen. And when I see the hands, Peter Downs, I see your hand is up anyway. So if you want to come in and ask a question. You're still on mute at the moment, Peter, so you might just make sure you unmute your mic.
Hi, can you hear me now, Sean?
Yeah, perfect. Go ahead.
Okay, Sean, just when you were going through the list of venues there, on week 5, Kilmaheller down for week 5, you didn't call us out. Are we still on it?
Sorry, I was just going through them. So yeah, once you're on the list for it, you're on that week. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just had a few more questions there. Just it's my understanding from just the latest that came out from Crow Park there in relation to return to play, that the questionnaire is now online. The questionnaire has to be filled out once online, and then this is for just general training outside of Cúl Camps. So this questionnaire is no longer a paper, a hard copy. It's filled out once online, and then the player or the player's parent has to sign a declaration thereafter every day.
It possibly is. I haven't received that information at the moment, but if they did say that in the training yesterday, I know there was training for COVID officers yesterday. So if that was said at that, then yeah, they've updated it again since they sent us down this document yesterday morning. So look, whatever is in place for the clubs will be in place as well for the camps. But what is important from the parents' point of view is they will have to fill it in twice. The one that they fill in for the club will not do for the camp because they're seen as different to club training. So they will have to fill it in for the camps as well for us.
Okay. Just another question there, Sean. Like, as I said, we're down there for the camp, I think the 17th of August. So by that stage, things and restrictions might have de-escalated a good bit. So will you be advising as we go along, as things are de-escalated? You know, we might have to be as restrictive as what we do with regard, to the supervisors and that.
Yeah, look at if things change going forward, obviously that'll all be taken into consideration. I suppose what we're saying at the moment is based on the plan that's there for the country and the GA at the moment. If things get brought forward, or if they don't feel there's a necessity for some areas that they've put in, then yeah, things may change again over the next few weeks. But this I suppose what we're looking at the moment is the most up to date information that we have for how things will work.
Very good. Okay, thanks, Sean.
Patrick Hogan, I see your hand is up as well. Patrick, you might just check that your microphone is unmuted, just in case you're speaking.
Yep. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, just a simple enough one, Sean, just on the social distancing for the children themselves. In terms of play, will it be non-contact or contact, or 2 meters or 1 meter, you know? In
terms of the activities, Patrick, July 20th is the return to contact. So in terms of the exercises and games and stuff like that we're doing, it can involve contact as of from July the 20th under the GA roadmap. So where distancing will come into it will be around if we do need to use stands or that, where the group that you're in obviously can sit in a group because they're the ones you're with the whole time. But we will need to space out the other groups away from them if we were to go in out of rain, or if we were going to use a stand for lunchtime or something like that. That's where I suppose distancing will come into effect at that stage.
Yeah, that's fine. Just a quick other question. It's probably just about the COVID officer, and just we're trying to recruit one, I suppose. What kind of level of pay would that be like in general?
Look, we'd be looking at the equivalent of a head coach role, which would probably be €300 for the week.
Okay. That's fine, thanks.
Sean Griffin, I see your hand is up as well there, Sean, if you want to come in.
How are you doing, Sean? So I suppose my question is around the coaching ratios. I see there in the document that it's for under 12s, it's an 8-to-1 ratio, and for under 13s, it's a 10-to-1 ratio. Are you confident that you have the coaches to, like you're talking about somewhere, you know, if you have 80 or 100 kids at the camp, anywhere between, you know, 10 and 12 or 13 coaches required to run the camp? Does that present a problem, or are you confident that's going to be achievable?
No, look, as of at the moment, we have I think we have something like 110 applications already in, and since yesterday's announcement, there's more and more flooding in as people realise it's happening. With regards to ratios, it's a ratio of adult to child, not necessarily the coach to his group, right? Okay. So where we're saying that there's 100 people allowed, what we would be looking at probably per group of a ratio of 1 to 10, and then you'd also have your head coach and you'd also have your COVID person there. So you'd have 12 adults at the facility for the 100 kids that would be there. So you'd be coming in at the 1 to 8, but it doesn't specify that you can only have 8 children in the group, if you know what I mean. So that's the way we'll be operating. We'll be roughly groups of 1 to if it's a full camp of 100, 1 to 10 in terms of the groups, and then the head coach and the COVID person assistant as well. Okay.
And I assume then that it's the same if you have a club, your own club camp, that the same ratios must apply.
Yeah, you must be able to show that there is enough adults there for every 8 children. Yeah. Okay. And I suppose the other side of it is they have to be there for the duration. It can't be that a parent is dropping in. It doesn't. If a parent is there for an hour, they don't count in the ratio. They'll have to be there for the duration, obviously, while everything is going on. Yeah.
Okay. And they must have vetting, they must have safeguarding, and they must have at least foundation.
Yeah, that is a necessity. And this year they will also have to have done the COVID program.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Conal McNulty, do you want to come in there?
Yeah, sorry, Sean, I was just really checking. Our camp is down for the 17th. So does that mean we can open up the dressing room facilities if needed? And also on toilet use, obviously all the dressing rooms have toilets. And will there be somebody asked to supervise the toilets, or is that up to the club themselves to try and control who enters and leaves the toilets?
From the toilet point, from the dressing rooms point of view, first of all, yeah, if your camp happens to fall after the date where dressing rooms are allowed to be used by the GAA, then yes, it opens up the possibility of where we will be allowed to use dressing rooms the same as normal. But for the majority of camps, that won't be the case because of the fact that the date is too late in the year for most of the camps. From the toilet point of view, the head coach and COVID person will be liaising to ensure that as children come in or out, that everybody knows who's been using it. And then, as I said, from a clean and down point of view and sanitation point of view, the COVID officer will have responsibility for making sure that is done throughout the day, to keep the toilets in tip-top shape, if you like.
Okay, thanks, Sean.
Thanks. I'm not sure, lads, whether there's a few other hands up now. Whether if it's Sean, your hand is still up. I don't know. Is it you want to come back in or?
No, I'm all right. Taking it off now.
Patrick, do you want to come back in?
Yeah, I just put up my hand there again, just on the COVID officer. Is there any qualifications? Just what Sean was mentioning there. You know, does he have to have a foundation or and vetting and all that?
No, but they will need to be vetted.
Yeah.
They can't be there. They won't need to have. They won't be physically coaching or involved in coaching in any aspect, so they won't need the coaching qualifications. But obviously, because there's children at the camp and they're going to be dealing with children, they will need to be Garda vetted. That would be a priority. Yeah. And
then they'd also need to do the training.
And they will need to do the online training. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, as I say, look, we'll be having group calls for all the COVID officers across the county, and we'd be hoping that they would obviously take the opportunity to come onto those calls as well, where they can help one another, even with questions and different things they mightn't have thought of.
Okay. Yeah. And thanks.
David O'Connell, you're after putting up your hand.
Yeah, just to follow on that, is there a minimum wage? Like, is somebody over 16 okay, or over 18, or over 21, or what's the I suppose advice on that?
We look at preferably we'd be looking for somebody maybe from they would have to carry a presence and ensure that they can deal with parents, plus they can deal with the coaches in order making sure that when they give out the sanitation packs. Now, not that I'm expecting a problem with the coaches carrying out their duties, but you don't want somebody that wouldn't have the presence to be listened to. So I suppose we would be saying preferably somebody maybe from around the middle 20s onwards or that. But if you have somebody in mind that you want to discuss with us, that we can do that, and even if it means that they're 22 or 23 but a very strong character who'll do the job correctly, which is the most important thing, look, we'd be happy to discuss that with you too. But no, we wouldn't be looking for somebody under 18 or that, David, because they wouldn't, I suppose they just wouldn't carry in terms of dealing with parents and ensuring that things are done properly. They probably just wouldn't have the presence to make sure that things are done as they're meant to be laid out.
That's perfect. Yeah, thanks.
John Keating, did you want to come in, John, there?
Yes, Sean, just wondering, what kind of a time frame would you be looking for to provide a COVID officer? Just I'm not so sure what advances are made there near Oak regarding that, but when would we want to be having an AM suitably qualified?
Well, look,
I think we're the 10th of August.
There's nothing wrong with saying, look, at what we'd be saying is hopefully look at by the end of the first week in July that we'd know what clubs have one, and then what we can do is if the club can't supply one, obviously we'll have to go and see if we can get somebody to maybe do a couple of camps. But the reason that we prefer it to be an internal person is because they know the grounds, they know how things work. They know what will work in terms of where to put parents, where to put cars, where if you bring in an outsider, they don't know the ground as well as a local person, and that's the biggest advantage. Like, I suppose from a sanitation point of view and all of that, look, at anybody from anywhere can do that. But as I say, we'd be hopeful that any club that can supply one would be able to do so maybe by the first week of July, and that's 3 weeks out from our first camp, which then allows us to start the training and basically dialoguing with them directly to make sure that they're ready for their camp when it comes around.
Okay, thank you. And just on the issue of sanitising, Sean, what is proposed there? I mean, I'm thinking to myself, are you talking about spraying balls or wiping them, or what's the?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of our equipment, at the end of the day, they all have to be sprayed and cleaned. Yeah, every single day after we use them. Okay. So we'll have all that stock with the COVID person who'll give it to our coaches, and every single cone, every slitter, every football. If we use any equipment basically that we use, will have to be sanitized at the end of the day and be ready then for the following day, and be re-sanitized again the following day again.
Okay, thanks.
Veronica Costello, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, hi Sean. I just wanted to ask in relation to the booking. Does it only be online, or can they come up on the day? Because we often have a lot of kids that would just arrive on the morning.
Yeah, no, as I said a month ago, and the GA aren't going to change that side. That's one thing that's for certain. Is for this year, all bookings are 100% online. So there'll be no walk up, and I suppose our main reasons for that is to ensure things like our coach to player ratios, and to make sure that, like, one of the things we will be doing, we'll be asking our coaches to be kind of at venues around 9:15 every morning to set out their own little zones that they're going to be working in and things like that. So the potential to have people walk up and not be prepared for them leads to the potential of too much cross grouping and stuff like that could happen. So for this year, Veronica, it's specifically online and online only.
Okay, and is there a close-off date? Like, we'd be the first camp, so would it be a close-off date, or could they book right up until the Friday, do you think?
Yeah,
or
12 o'clock on the Friday before your camp, the site shuts it down. So up to midday on the Friday before, you can book online, and then that allows us basically Friday evening and Saturday, if we needed to, you know, if for some reason there's a spike in numbers from Thursday to Friday, and we need to locate another coach or so, then that allows us the opportunity to make sure we've everything right for Monday morning. But yeah, it's 12 o'clock on the Friday before your camp, the site stop taking bookings.
Okay, and just one more quick question there. In relation to the Garda vetting, I know 2 from our club have applied, but you know where they send off to get the link?
Yeah.
Now, they sent that off a week ago and a link still hasn't come back. So, like, what's the situation there? Are they being prioritised, or should I give you the names of people, or?
No, well, what I'll do, I'll talk to, because that's actually Fergal Gray's area. So I'll say now, I know other people who have done it and they have got the link back to fill out the second section. So I'll follow up with Fergal and see if there has been an issue over the past few days with it. And what I can do is I can give you a ring directly yourself on that. But what we know every year, if there is a situation where we're getting your camp time that people have applied, they will be prioritised in terms of making sure that their clearance is true before we're able to use them. So, but look at, if we can get the applications in at this stage, hopefully the majority of them will be back without having to go to Crow Park and ask them to be prioritising too many.
Right, and they will be allowed to do the training then once they've applied for the Cúl Camp coaching thing. If the Garda vetting isn't in by the time that comes, they'll be allowed to do it subject to Garda vetting coming afterwards. Do you know, the
they'll be asked for proof of basically that they have it filled out. So once you fill out the second section, as you probably know, you get a number back yourself that says that it's in process. So we'll be asking for them to supply that as proof that they have the second section gone in and they're only awaiting the confirmation back. And then they'll be invited to take part in all training that we're doing with the coaches.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
No problem. Ronan Meskel.
Hello, Sean. Ollie here, actually.
Sorry, Ollie. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Sean, my question is around the numbers and the limited numbers. You mentioned the number of 100. Any advice around that, or how that's going to be managed?
Well, as I said, with the pre-booking, the booking is set to the maximum. So the minute that the 100 mark is hit, it doesn't allow for any more bookings in afterwards. So we won't be in a situation where there's 120 booked in and only 100 to be able to be taken. Now, as I said at the start, if a club feels that they do have the facilities and everything to deal with something above that, you can make an individual case to us, and we will look at it and discuss it with you. And if that means that we go to 110 or 115 or something, that'll be an agreement that we'll come to directly with yourselves. But for the moment, all the camps that are registered are capped at 100, unless, as I say, there's an individual case which we're happy with to facilitate. Now, and it would be numbers slightly above that. We wouldn't be in a position where we'd be going to 140 or 150 or 160 or something like that, because it wouldn't allow, I suppose, for groupings big enough to have 16 or 17 groupings on a pitch, you know. But as I say, look at it, if the club feel that ye are able to cater for and can kind of prove to us that, look, you'd be happy with more than the 100, what I'd say is make a case into us and we'll discuss it individually with you after.
Okay, Sean, but just another one on that. Is the number that we're at booking wise visible or to us, or do you have that at the moment?
It's visible to, not at the moment, because what's actually happened is, as of yesterday, everybody who booked in previous to when the sites were closed down 2 weeks ago received an email yesterday where they were given one of three options. Option one is to take a full refund if they don't wish to attend any longer. Option two was to take a partial refund plus still get the gear. So they would get the price of the gear would be deducted off what they paid, and they'd get the remainder back. And then option three is to reserve the place that you've already booked. So by next week, Ollie, if you wanted to give me a ring next week, I'd have a very good idea with regards to what has pre-booked at the moment for you. But over the next few days, there is the chance that people who pre-booked prior to now may decide not to attend, which could open up other places. So until such a time as the website is ready to go live again, the number isn't really it's not a real number until all those people have come back and indicated which of the three options they're taking.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Sean.
John Petty, John, your hand is up there.
Hi, Sean. Just to clarify there on, I suppose, toilet facilities. If your toilet facilities are inside in your main facility and there's no external access to them, how is that to be managed?
Access to the toilets via dressing rooms and things like that will be allowed. But what we're not allowed to do is to basically stay inside in the dressing room. So if it means that if the toilets are all in dressing room facilities, then the participants can go in through the dressing room to the toilet, and then obviously they come straight back out and back to the field. They can't stay in the indoor place, if you like, but access is allowed through the dressing rooms to them if that's where that they are.
Okay, thanks.
Lovely. Veronica, I'm not sure, do you have another question, or is your hand just still up from the last time?
No, sorry, I think it was up from the last time. I'll just put it down, okay?
Right, no problem. Perfect. Yeah. So, what I might do is I just have one other document I just want to put up, I suppose, and that was just information that in case people didn't see the press release that came out yesterday. So just so you have the information around what did actually come out. So obviously I'll skip over things that were covered in the other documents. So what it's saying at the moment is a list of all venues will be confirmed on the Cúl Camp website on June 22nd when booking reopens. Now, as I say, in Clare, that won't be the case. The bookings will reopen. I would like to try as much as possible to have them opened within a week or so of all of them opening together. But if for a specific reason any club wants to hold off longer than that before opening their camp, we can agree that too. There's no problem there, but that the camps will not open until there's an agreement between the clubs and ourselves as to which day you want them to open. Pricing point of view, so it is the same as what was advertised obviously earlier on in the year, and that's first child €65, second child €60, and third and subsequent child is €50. There was a few questions, I suppose, and some of you may have saw this whole idea of morning camps, afternoon camps, and mid-morning camps. And what that meant is in some counties they're given the offer of running a camp in the morning and a camp again in the afternoon. Now, that we won't be hosting two camps in the same venue across the same week. So all our camps will be running with the mid-morning slots of the 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. So just so everybody is aware of that, that the morning afternoon ones that are there in the press releases, they won't affect us. We will be going with the traditional 10 o'clock start in all our camps, as we always have done over the long number of years that the camps have been in place. Okay. For anybody, just in case you have people within your clubs who have underlying health conditions and that and can't attend the camps, then there will be the opportunity for them to purchase the camp directly off the website as well. That when the website reopens I suppose in an area where the camp isn't taking place, or if there's a child in your own areas that for medical reasons and that or any reason that can't attend, they can still purchase the kits this year directly from the website and get them delivered to them. Okay. And I suppose that, look, primarily that is the most important information that's there. In case you want anyone in the clubs want to do it, there is actually going to be a virtual camp this year. There is an agreement done between the GAA and TG Cahir, and they're going to be running a televised camp. Basically, the children can tune into Monday to Friday from 10:25 to 11 o'clock between June 29th and July 17th. So they would have been the weeks that the camp should have been running, but obviously due to restrictions can't run this year. There will be the opportunity for people to tune in and basically take part in the camp themselves if they want televised. So to be honest, that to a large degree, look at that. That is the most up to date, I suppose, information that I have. Now, what I would be saying to clubs is obviously some people were waiting until after today's call to 100% confirm that they are going ahead. As I say, I am under pressure to try and ensure that the camps that are going ahead are with Crow Park by Friday. So if for any reason any club needs to contact me this evening, tomorrow, Friday morning, you all have my details via the emails and everything that went out anyway. So please feel free to give me a call at any stage. I suppose I don't have too much more to add based on what we have gone through, but if there are any other questions or anything there that people want before we finish, I'd be happy to take them, and if not, I will, as I say, this is recorded. I will send it out to all clubs. I will send the document that I went through there with all the various points regarding requirements out to the clubs as well. And I can discuss individually anything that might specifically affect your camp that you might want to talk to individually with us on at any stage as well. So as I say, I will just give you an opportunity there now at the moment that if anybody has a question before we wrap up, there's you might just stick up your hand in that. So Patrick,
yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, just what's the latest on Friday? We can confirm that.
I'm meant to have it in by the close of business, if you like, so that would be 5 o'clock. So yeah. Preferably look at if you could have it with me Friday afternoon, 2 or 3 o'clock at the latest. That would make sure that I have all the information in correctly by 5 o'clock if I need to make any edits or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
John, yeah.
Sean, just wondering, what's the normal process for tagging numbers of bookings and that? I know it was mentioned earlier there, but just in line, I'm thinking of if you have a full house, you're talking about a lot of cars and drop off, and then traffic management and so on, as opposed to maybe, you might need a lot less cones for 50 people rather than 100 attended. Do you for tracking that as bookings go on?
We can track that on a daily basis with regards to what is in. So we can be in we will be in constant communication with your COVID person anyway, who will be asking to help devise the plan around what's necessary for drop-offs and pick-offs and things like that. So we will be able to tell them that, look, there's 60 people or 65 people or 68 people or 100 people already booked in, and keep them up to date with regards to how the bookings are going in your own club. So we have access to see exactly what numbers have pre-booked as they book along.
Okay, thank you.
So if anyone has any other question, you might just stick up your hand there. I'll just give 30 seconds or so just to see if anything comes in. So let's look, I suppose, just on my own behalf, just thanks to everybody who joined in the call tonight. I think we've nearly 20 clubs basically represented out of the 28 clubs who have looked to come in, and I know some just couldn't make it for one reason or another today. So look, if there is anything you need help, guidance, any questions you have afterwards, by all means, give me a call at any stage, and we'd be happy to go through anything that's specific to yourselves. And if not, look, I'll be in contact again with all clubs. Once the information has gone in on Friday, we'll be in individual contact, I suppose, with clubs then to agree what day that you want your camps opened and stuff, and make sure that the registration only opens when your clubs are open. So look, hope everybody is keeping safe and well. Looking forward to June 29th when our small pods return, and any assistance at all, as I say, we can be, please don't hesitate to contact us. So thanks very much, guys.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.